What an interesting and wild week it has been in the Helldivers 2 community. My name is Andrew.
My name is Luke.
And we are here on the Sticky Bandits channel aboard the SES Fist of Peace, here to talk about a lot of stuff. I mean, where do we even start, Luke?
Well, I think that first bullet point is just perfect, don't you?
Oh, yes, we have a message from the game director, Mikhail, that was just shared this morning. Got a bunch of bullet points that we can just start going through. Essentially, they have a game plan for the next 60 days, and this is their shot-by-shot list of what they're going to try and do.
Which, if they can pull it off and do it within 60 days, is going to be a huge positive.
Yeah, I do think that is the big thing here. Is if they can manage to do all this stuff, then the game is going to be in a great spot. And it's a lot of stuff that I think players want, but and like one of the things that he even says here in this post is that what matters most now is action, not talk. And unfortunately, all we have now is talk, but we'll just take what we got. So this first bullet point that he has are, our aim within the next 60 days is to continue to re-examine our approach to balance. Our intention is that balance should be fun, not balanced for the sake of balance. And I said this before we started recording, but that seems awfully ambiguous. Yes,
it does. Like, I wonder if they'll probably expand on what that means specifically, but let's kind of talk about what that means to us as just players looking at that statement.
Yeah, because on the surface, like my instant reaction is like, okay, good, do that. But I think what they actually mean by that statement is not like a commonly understood thing, because I spend way too much time in the Helldivers subreddit, and it is just it's salty
doom and gloom.
And it is whiny. The size of that subreddit right now, it's over 1 million members. It's 1.4 million members. No way.
Wow, that's really impressive.
Hang on, I'm looking at the wrong one. I don't want to.
Yeah.
No fake news from us.
We're gonna get our numbers correct here.
It is 1.4 million members in that subreddit, and the peak player count. Let me get that number too, because
that's just Steam though. You're just looking at Steam though.
Right, but it should give us a pretty good idea.
It's like 453, I think. I'm gonna say 453.
Helldivers 2. Okay. The 24-hour peak is 37,000. Let's see. 30 days, peak player. Okay, peak players of the last 30 days is 62,000. My point here is that there is no way that everybody that is participating in the subreddit has even played the update. And I think that's a problem. If you don't have
100%.
If you don't have firsthand experience, because like there are definitely some problems, and a lot of the criticism is valid. But if you haven't played the game, then you can't criticize it. You need to play the update, see how everything feels, and then bitch about it.
There are some definitely like good stuff in this update. Definitely.
Yeah, there's
what they marketed to. They marketed it to be a lot bigger than it ended up being.
Definitely. I think they overhyped it. I think if they hadn't put out like a big trailer for it, and I know that they were trying to get players to come back because they've absolutely seen their player count dwindle, so they were trying to get people to come back and check out the update, but they kind of oversold it for what ended up being like a couple of weapon changes and like
a really egregiously bad one too.
Yeah, like unpopular weapon changes, a handful of new enemies, one new planet. Like I think they just oversold what they had ready.
Well, and those enemies that they introduced just introduced more problems than they added fun factor to.
Definitely.
Take both of those enemies.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
That's a bullet point later on here, but we should getting back to our
let's keep moving.
Where I got off here is that our intention is that balance should be fun, not balanced for the sake of balance. Doesn't mean the same thing to everyone, because I think for you and I, Helldivers 2 is most fun when it's more like an arcade co-op shooter.
Yes.
And
arcadey, lighthearted fun.
right. And I think the game that Arrowhead set out to make was a little bit more hardcore and realistic. And I just don't think that they can continue to go that direction and have success.
No, they cannot. It is detrimental to the fun factor of the game if you keep moving in that direction.
Because I think the most interesting thing about live service games is that the developers and the community build the game together. Like it's not just like a developer like sticking to their vision and this is what we made and here we go. That's just not how this is going to work. So I do appreciate that they've given lots of avenues for player feedback. They are absolutely in the Discord and in the subreddits, like looking at what people are saying, and I think that's where all of this comes from. But yeah, the intention for balance should be fun, and I think we kind of talked about that in our last little discussion here too. I think more broadly speaking, like you can get into the nitty gritty of like this weapon needs to have X number of bullets in its mag and whatever. But I think ultimately, like the bigger picture thing here is that you need to make the strategies that are most effective the most fun strategies, because right now the most like optimal way to play the game is to avoid fighting, and that should absolutely not be the case.
It's like that moment in Pirates of the Caribbean, right?
Yeah,
you must fight to run away,
which is ridiculous because the fun part of the game is fighting, not running away from fights.
It's taking on the enemies and pushing through enemies to get objectives done, not trying to avoid the enemies while getting your objectives done. Like I find our group a lot of times in, especially like bug missions, anytime we see patrols, we run in the other way.
Definitely.
We're like, okay, let's go around this patrol. We don't want to fight them. That shouldn't be what you're saying during the game, that you don't want to fight something.
Yeah.
I think if you find yourself saying that, there is a fundamental problem with how engagements are taken, and it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, I think ideally you want to most of the time you want engaging the enemy to be the right answer. Like whatever, like 75% of the time you want fighting to be the optimal strategy.
Yes, you need to push through this obstacle to get to the objective.
Right, yeah. So that's what
because it's fun.
Yes. So that's what I hope that they realize, or what they mean by this bullet point, that their balance should be balancing towards what's fun to do and not what is just quote balanced.
Yep. Well said.
Their next bullet point says, update how the fire damage mechanic works to tweak how the flamethrower serves as a close-range support weapon. And they mentioned that a straight revert won't work as it would break other things, and I totally believe that.
I'm assuming that has to do with the new Warbond weapons, because I'm guessing that they I haven't played around with the new Warbond weapons at all, because I'm kind of holding on my super credits to maybe get the next one to see if it's any better. But
we'll see.
From videos and stuff that I've seen, the fire mechanic has been fundamentally changed at like a very foundational level. So the flamethrower just is a direct like casualty of the new Warbond. Yeah,
and it's really unfortunate. They really shot themselves in the foot with that, like breaking and nerfing fire damage right before their fire Warbond. Ooh,
yeah,
like how did they not see that coming? First of all,
yeah, that's a straight dick shot right there.
But like, what purpose should the flamethrower serve, I guess is the question. What do you want the flamethrower to do as a support weapon?
Suppressive stuff against suppressive fire against smaller enemies, but also like the way they had it working before was perfect. They didn't need to change it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I will absolutely accept the fact that it was quote unquote broken, like it was not supposed to work that way against chargers. but it kind of had found this interesting niche where where it was really good at handling big groups of bugs and
clumped bugs specifically.
Yeah. So you could handle like big crowds, but then you could also handle the most problematic enemy on the bug front, which is the chargers.
And we'll get to that.
And on the bot front, the flamethrower is just totally worthless. It doesn't have the range. It doesn't do very good damage against robots. So it just had this really well defined niche as being the charger killer and the weapon that handles groups really well. Like it fulfilled that niche very, very well, and it didn't feel broken, even though maybe it, from a game dev perspective, maybe it was broken, but it definitely did a very specific thing that no other gun does.
Yeah, and whenever we would play the bot front before the update, we would always have, if there was 4 of us, at least 2 of us running the flamethrower. It was the perfect support weapon to complement everything else within that group that we play with. And having 2 of them just made going through those missions that much easier for each other. And
I think we were
that's what was fun about it.
We were playing on level 9 there, and it was like our Firebat build, which you should watch that video.
100%. Go watch that video. It's fun.
That build was so much fun to run because you had multiple things that you could do.
Yeah.
So I guess the question now is, like, moving forward, should the flamethrower still have that niche where it does both, like, medium enemies? I'm including like chargers in the medium enemies. Like, should it still hold that same niche where it can handle medium enemies as well as crowds moving forward?
I think that it definitely should. It should have that versatility because it's fun. I don't know any other way to say it. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
There was a comment from the Pildstat. I have a hard time with their names.
Oh, but
he
former CEO. Yeah,
former CEO.
I don't know what his position is now.
Pilstat. We'll just call him Pilstat. He had noted that the time to kill for most things in the game was too long, and I've seen people on the other side of it, like in the more like sympathetic Helldivers subreddit, saying like, no, the flamethrower was broken. It was too strong.
They're lying
and I'm
to
like,
themselves.
I don't think so, man. Like I think like the right fix for the flamethrower moving forward is to give it back that niche that it had, and if you have to give it some like armor pen to make it do that, I don't think it will make it broken. Like, if you can kill a charger in like 3 to 4 seconds with the flamethrower, I don't think that is broken because it has such short range. It's not like you're killing them before they see you. You have to, be able to smell their breath to kill them with a flamethrower.
Yeah, and like not being able to kill a Bile Titan per se is like the perfect breaking point, I feel like, for that weapon.
Mm-hmm. I wish that you could, but I get it from a balance standpoint. Like, if it's just better against chargers, and maybe it's equally good against the new Impaler enemies as well. Like,
those are a problem all on their own, but
it has that niche where it's really strong, but you have to be really close.
So it's a risk-reward weapon, just like most everything else that's a support weapon has trade-offs, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I hope that they come out on that side of it when they rework how fire damage works. And I also hope that they can make the new fire weapons useful in their own way too. And I think just making the flamer have armor pen and then the primary ones not have armor pen would probably be the right way to handle that.
Yeah, the one that I can't remember what it's called, but it's not the shotgun or the pistol. It's the AR version of the fire weapon. That looks so cool, and it just sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurts me that it sucks.
I've heard a lot of people say that the little pistol flamethrower kind of has this like sort of weird niche where you can run it one-handed and basically just like leave a flame trail behind you. Like, it doesn't have a very large mag, but it's pretty
So it's
strong.
like a little mini napalm
Yeah.
trail behind you.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
So you can use it one-handed and leave this like flame trail behind you, and that's actually kind of useful in its own way.
Leave it to the community to find like actual interesting uses for these otherwise worthless weapons.
I know, like that's why you have to. Well, we'll get to that too, where they want to have like a test environment. That'll be super useful if they can actually pull that off. Be like the HOTS PTR. Mm-hmm. So let's see. I think we've covered everything we want to with the flame stuff.
Yeah, I think the ragdolling.
Yeah.
That just has to change with the physics. The physics of the game, I think, are okay, but making it so that you maybe don't ragdoll as far, or maybe not as, maybe putting a cooldown on it a little bit. I don't know how you would balance that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that the ragdolling in the game is excessive. It just really does seem like it happens way too much.
Or maybe there's too many things that can ragdoll you.
Right. So like the Impaler,
the new rocket AT-ATs,
yeah,
or the ATs or whatever.
I've been one shot by those the rockets, ATSTs,
yeah,
so many times.
And the rocket tanks are crazy too. The mortar tanks.
I do think that makes them like high priority targets. So like when they show up, you go, "Oh crap, we've got to really get on top of that." I think that is like the right reaction that you should have as a player to those kinds of things.
I agree.
But I do think that they probably need to just like up the player's resistance to ragdolling,
or tolerance.
Yeah, the tolerance for it. That's a good word for it. Like fewer things should just like whip you off of your feet. And that just goes back to like
maybe
the
just
fun.
Make you flinch more.
I don't even really like the flinching thing. Like they're removing the flinch mechanic. I was going to say they're removing the flinch mechanic from Apex because it's become such a problem. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, I do think that I saw that.
Yeah, it's like those kinds of things that would be more realistic make the game less fun to play.
Yeah.
Like, it's that sliding scale between realism and fun, and you just kind of have to find the right spot on that spectrum.
Yeah, it's all about who shoots first in that situation. The same could be applied to Helldivers. If the bots see you and start shooting you first, you can't whip around and immediately counterplay because you're getting flinched all over the place. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and to that point too, something that we've complained about in our games is that these gigantic enemies sneak up on you so often. Like there's just no indication that you're about to get puked on by a bile titan, by a 3-story tall crab.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
How often has that happened?
Same thing with chargers sneaking up on you.
So I think like having a better enemy communication, like they don't communicate their attacks quite as well as they should.
Not as telegraphed.
Yeah, like I know a lot of people have compared Helldivers to Elden Ring, and I think even the CEO has kind of said that like they take a lot of inspiration from Elden Ring. And the thing is like when you die in that game, you know why.
Yeah, you screwed up or got greedy or yeah,
you know exactly why you died in that game, unless you're fighting Consort Radon. Second phase.
That's yeah. That's another issue.
But that's more the thing that you need to strive for is like if you die in Helldivers, you got to go, oh yeah, that's on me.
That was a bad decision.
Yeah, instead of it just being
I should have gone this way or done this one thing or prioritized something else. Yeah.
Yeah, because in the current state, it just kind of seems like the player doesn't have a whole lot of agency. Like if you just get ragdolled over and over and over again, like
you have one choice: run away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, there's just no agency in that. There's no expression of skill in that, and that just feels bad.
I agree.
This next bullet point is actually big, though. It's rethink our design approach to primary weapons and create a plan for making combat more engaging. I feel like the reason why they nerfed the breaker is because it was like in a third of all bug missions.
Or it was in like it didn't matter which front you were on, everybody was using it.
Yeah, it was honestly not even bad on bot missions, to be honest. But the thing is that most primary weapons, they just aren't strong enough to do anything.
to deal with the things that you see most commonly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if they change their enemy spawns to be more chaff and less heavies, that could be more fun.
Yeah, clearing chaff, and I've said this before, my favorite role on a team is clearing chaff. I love that shit.
Oh, definitely.
Nothing is more satisfying than taking like a high ground position with like a machine gun or an HMG emplacement and just mowing shit down.
Yeah.
Like, that's so fun.
Totally. And that's what your primary weapon is mostly able to do, but so many of the primaries just aren't very good at that. Like, they're just a little bit too weak. Or if you look at a gun like the Purifier, like, I have no idea what that gun's supposed to do. And patch after patch, it just remains crappy, and it feels so bad to use.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember the first time that I took it into a bot mission, which is where I thought that was supposed to, be used, because you, like, peek around corner, fire, then, charge your next shot thing. It felt like I didn't have a gun. It just straight up felt like I didn't. Like, I would headshot just like the most basic bot enemies, and they would not die.
It'd be like that scene from Avengers, and Thanos is like, all that for a little drop of blood.
For real though, that gun in particular just frustrates me so much, because it's a dry poo noodle. It's not even a wet poo noodle. It's a dry poo noodle. A dry pool noodle would probably hurt just as bad as a wet one, though.
Well, either way.
Yeah, but ultimately, primary weapons don't feel strong enough to do what they're supposed to do. But I also think that they need to make it so that every enemy is vulnerable in some way to primary weapons.
And more, obvious weak spots. Like we keep talking about chargers because they're the most infamous, but they're also the most frustrating because supposedly their bum is the weak spot. But when you shoot off the bum and it's still running around and trying to mess you up, you can't shoot it in the bum anymore. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, you just have to continue to run away from it.
Yeah.
I think what's supposed to happen is that once you explode its butt, like once you throw its back
supposed to bleed out.
It's supposed to not be able to charge anymore.
It still charges.
I don't think it's supposed to do that. But I do think that, like, making primary weapons better in the game depends on them being more effective in more situations. Like, I think that everything, including Bile Titans, should have a vulnerability to primary weapons.
But you have to dump a lot of resources in to deal with that threat if you don't have...
Or like, should be
a last resort.
It should be a small amount of damage or require, like, crazy accuracy, but I think they all need some level of vulnerability to every weapon in the game. That's my opinion.
That would you'd be messing with medium armor penetration and stuff at that point, though, and I don't know if that's...
Well, think about this: when a charger,
feasible.
when a Bile Titan opens its mouth to spit at you, shouldn't the mouth be a weak point?
I mean, you would think.
So if I have a primary weapon and I'm running around with no cooldowns and that's all I've got, and the Bile Titan spits at me, if I can land a shot in its mouth with my primary weapon, I should be able to do damage. That's my thinking.
Because you're rewarding skill
yes.
at shooting the mouth, and also the risk of standing there shooting it while it's spitting at you.
Yep. That's what I think about that.
Okay.
And I think that's the philosophy I think that they should have. It's like, don't make primary weapons so strong that they can just easily deal with everything. Just give me a way to deal some damage when I don't have a cooldown.
Yeah. Like if you were to shoot them through the mouth and do enough damage, they wouldn't be able to spit at you anymore.
Yeah, well, I guess you can kind of do that by shooting out their bellies.
And maybe that's what you balance it around then, because there's the risk reward, right? You got to stand directly underneath them to shoot the belly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care what the specifics are. I just want to have something to do if I have all of my shit on cooldown.
Instead of running.
It's like, I have this perfectly good gun in my hands. Let me use it.
Yes, I agree.
Okay,
next
bullet point. Reprioritize bug fix. Talking Sard. Reprioritize bug fixes so that the more immediate gameplay impacting bugs are prioritized.
I mean, that kind of just doesn't need any discussion, really. They just
It just
Bug
fixed.
fixes are bug fixes.
Yeah, well, I do think that some of their balance decisions have been made based on bugs. Like if you remember back to like the railgun nerfs, that was based on a bug that only the PlayStation players could do like crazy damage to Bile Titans with the rail cannon, and so they nerfed that gun based on that bug rather than fixing the bug. I think that that's what that's a reference to, but.
Okay, that makes sense. And I remember they just buffed fire over and over again to deal with that bug too. So
Yeah, and that was based on a bug, not on actual real good data. So I think that's what that bullet point means. And yeah, that kind of just goes without saying, I think. Next bullet point they have is improve game performance. Frame rate is a focus. I haven't had any major issues with that, except when it's raining on the swamp planet.
Yeah, anytime there's extra environmental stuff going on screen, that's the only time I've had an issue. We're both on PC, and both of us have pretty respectable PCs.
Yeah, definitely not top of the line, but we're also not like these are pretty decent PCs.
Yeah, these are like middle of the road. Like the average PC gamer would probably have what we're running.
Right. Yeah. So it's probably a pretty good baseline that we should be able to do what we need to on these computers, and by and large they do. There's just that one planet when it starts to rain, it does really chug.
Yeah,
that planet I'm so like torn on too, by the way. It looks really cool.
If the trees would stop blocking my stratagems.
There's a Zanny video he just put out, and there's a whole section of it in the middle where they're trying to use the 500 kgs, and they just always are hitting trees. Like not a single one of them hit the ground because they're always hitting the trees behind them. It's really funny. You need
a mech to just like plow the road in front of you to make room for all of your Eagle airstrikes and stuff to come down. I don't know if the orbitals have as hard a time, but the Eagles, man, they are basically unusable on that planet.
Well, and maybe that's just a thing with that. Like I'm okay with things being situational like that. I don't think that is necessarily a problem. That's just like that is a reality of fighting on that planet. And that's the kind of stuff that you learn as you play. Like I don't think that's a problem. I don't want people to think that I'm like complaining about that. Like I just think that is kind of a funny little thing that happens on that planet.
Yeah, it's odd, but you know.
The performance though could definitely be better. Because as soon as it starts to rain, it's just like you're watching a slideshow.
With the strobe light.
Yeah.
But last bullet point here, rework chargers. This is the big one, I feel like.
Yeah, and that
you've got to take away some of the power from them because they fundamentally run and influence how you approach most combat situations on the bug front.
They've dominated every balance decision. They control the entire flow of battle on the bug front. Like they are just kind of the nexus of all of the issues with bugs right now.
Yeah,
it's just the charger.
Anytime we drop into a bug mission, we're like, okay, who's dealing with chargers?
Yeah.
Whose job is it to kill chargers?
That's always the question. Like Bile Titans aren't even like, yeah, of course you're gonna bring like orbital precision strike to deal with those, but like
or
somebody has to be on charger duty, and usually two people because like they are just such a problem.
Sometimes you just get like 6 or 8 of them chasing you at a time, and it's
and the new like behemoth chargers are even stronger, and they're even harder to deal with.
Yeah, why are we making those more common? They were kind of just fun to sit at like bases every now. Oh, hey, there's an upgraded one.
Yeah, they just show up so often. I don't even know what the normal chargers look like anymore.
Yeah, like just behemoth chargers are everywhere.
So
and you can't shred their armor with like even the HMG just bounces off them.
Yeah, and the HMG should have medium pen, right?
Well, even give it like higher pen. That's what that should be because of all the recoil and stuff you have to deal with. But
I feel like if you can kill a Hulk with that, you should be able to kill a charger with it.
And a behemoth charger.
Yeah. So I'm very interested to see what they're reworking about Chargers specifically, because they don't say, is it going to be their behavior or their spawn rate or their armor? Like, there's a lot of things they can tweak about it.
If there's one thing that I could change about them, if I could only change one thing, it would be that they can't turn as sharp as they do.
Yeah.
They should not be able to turn on a dime and keep chasing you or hit you.
Yep.
If you make a sharp turn.
Yep.
Because if we're looking at it from a realism standpoint, that much weight going that fast shouldn't be able to stop on a dime and keep chasing you at full speed.
Yep.
Like,
I
that
agree.
is, that in my opinion is the most frustrating thing about them, is if, say you can't take care of them right away, and most of the time you can't because you can't freaking hear them.
Yeah.
Because they don't make any audible noise other than their feet trampling the ground. They don't growl at you, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be able to have an easier way to get away from them, aside from using like a jump pack, or even sometimes diving out of the way. They'll curve with you.
Yeah.
So please, just make it so they're not as mobile.
Yeah. Yep, they're too big to be that agile. So they have this in a separate section. Additionally, from a bigger picture perspective, we will be exploring creation of an opt-in beta test environment to improve our testing processes, and we consider this a high priority. I will be shocked if they can make that happen in 60 days. And I think it's a great idea. I think it's absolutely something that
well, look at all
happen.
the other live service games. Most other live service games have test realms.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At least successful ones. Like
Yep.
League of Legends has a test realm. I'm pretty sure that...
Does Dota?
Dota has probably a test realm. Like, a lot of these are MOBAs, but I don't... Maybe... I'm trying to think. I don't think Overwatch has one. I don't think Apex has one.
I think fundamentally, though, that this does show that they want player feedback, and to a greater extent.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that kind of bugged me, one of the things that they said is like an hour of playtime takes away an hour of development, and it does really feel like they're not playing their own game, and it's like, well, then who are you making this game for?
Well, and how do you identify more issues and things that you need to fix if you're not playing your own game?
Yeah, like I hope that they start doing more streams. Like, I would love to see the devs play this game at level 7, 8, or 9.
Oh, one really cool thing, and this is maybe a cool suggestion. 343, I know, not a very popular company in this landscape, but they do these community play dates where the devs pop into to the regular servers and play with the community.
Dude, that would
actually
that would be so fun if you just are like playing a game and then they have some way to indicate that this is like an actual
developer
yeah,
that you're playing with,
that dropping into your mission. That would be cool.
That would be both good and bad. You have the salty people that would just team kill them the whole time.
I don't know. I think that would be a net good. I think most people would be pretty excited to see a dev jumping into their game to play.
I know that I would. I think it'd be cool.
I'd be thrilled with that. The next bullet point they've got here is post regular player surveys to gather more insights and feedback from the community.
Yeah, they have no shortage of feedback.
I definitely filled out their like official form for that because I had some more specific things that I wanted to see. Improve our process for patch and release notes, providing more context and reasoning behind changes. It's kind of annoying sometimes when they put like really important stuff just kind of tagged on at the end. Like the change to the flamer was just like a tucked into like the miscellaneous changes.
I like how you just keep calling it the flamer.
That's what it's called, isn't it?
I don't know.
I'm certain that's the actual name of that gun.
Oh, well, it just sounds funny.
Put it in the edit when I get to it, because I'm almost certain it's just called the flamer. Speaking of which, I do hope that at some point they add another flamethrower that's like a step above that one that has a backpack.
Kind of like the HMG versus the regular machine gun.
Yeah, give me a bigger, beefier flamethrower with more range and more armor pen. I think that'd be cool.
Just a smaller magazine or something.
Yeah, have a backpack, so it's just one magazine.
I see.
That's what I want to see. And their final bullet point here is they want to do more blog posts and streams where they expand on those topics for those interested, which we kind of talked about already.
Community playdates.
Yeah. So overall, like, really good things in here. I think there's a lot of potential. I've said this before, but I think Helldivers 2 is either going to be amazing in a year or totally dead. And I feel like the gulf between those two is huge.
I agree. This is a really ambitious goal, and I really want them to succeed. I think at the end of the day, no matter what game you're playing, we're all team video games. We all want fun stuff to play. So if you're going to provide feedback and, suggestions and stuff, make it constructive, please.
Oh, I know.
Don't try to tear stuff down just because you're angry. We're all team video games. We're all on the same side. We all want fun things to do and good games to play. So
yeah, the whining needs to stop. Like, you got your point across. We got a lot of response from the devs. Like, they heard us. Like, just let them cook for a bit, and let's get back to making the subreddit and the Discord cool places again. I want to see cool plays and interesting builds and things, like, instead of just like constant whining. It's gone.
On the topic of fun builds, go check up our Gibraltar build from earlier this week.
Yeah,
not a whole lot of people have been watching it, but it's a good video, and you should watch it because it's fun.
Yes, that was the fun thing about those build videos, and I want to keep doing more of those. Is that it's just different ways to play, and maybe they're not meta, they're not optimal, but they're fun, and that's the whole point of those
silly
videos.
And arcadey and fun. Yes.
Yeah. So definitely go check out our build videos. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. And if you guys like these longer videos, we'll keep making them. I'm surprised that last video did so well. But
that was so weird. I did not expect that at all. Just some two tiny little people that nobody's ever heard of got a lot of discussion going, which is really cool.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see similar things out of this. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So leave us a comment. Give us a like, subscribe for more videos, do all those things, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Later.
Sticky Bandits out!